like, I'm going to figure it out. It's going to be fine. People have done this before me. I'm not the first person who is going through that. It's going to be okay. And honestly, even saying like, I'm pretty sure that like less smart and less talented people than me did that and are doing really well. And it's okay. So like, kind of like embracing some of that confidence that if someone else can do it, why can't I? Like, no matter what we do, we can't please anyone. I think that's so accurate.
Welcome to the She's So Sweet podcast, where we interview accomplished women who have worked their way to the C-suite. I'm your host, Kristi Faltorusso, Chief Customer Officer and award-winning customer success executive. I am really excited to introduce today's guest. I have with us today Talya Heller G, who is competitive positioning consultant and founder at Down to a T. Talya, welcome to our show.
Hi, thank you for having me. Really good.
I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Because obviously I get the sneak peek because I already know some of your story beforehand. So I got to say, I'm pretty pumped for our episode today.
Me too.
All right. So before we get into all the good stuff, we got to start by laying some foundation for our listeners. So why don't we start by telling them a little bit about yourself? Tell us about your current role, your company, what you do there. Let's get started with some of that.
Awesome. Yeah. So I have a product marketing consultancy focusing on competitive positioning, because I feel like that's where a lot of companies kind of break. Everyone's struggling with differentiation and how to do that. And I also, from my years in product marketing, I also kind of saw that competitive intel is mostly used as a tactical thing. So just for battle cards and things like that, but not really to shape strategy, which is kind of what you would expect market insights to be for. So I started the company kind of as a mission to help companies to change that and start talking about themselves in a way that actually helps buyers figure out what they do and if they're good for them, and then to develop assets that make it also easier to buy from them. So that's kind of the gist of that. Before that, I was in product marketing. I've been in product marketing for about 9 years. As a founding PMM a couple of times in startups, scale-ups. Before then, I actually started my career at HP, so quite the opposite of a startup,
right.
In program management, and then kind of went into product. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love that. And that's not a nutshell, right? There's a lot in there. We're going to crack that nut open. So we're going to start with my favorite question to ask everybody. And if anybody who's ever listened to the show knows where I start, I need to know, when you were little, what did you actually want to be? Because nobody looks back and says, I really wanted to be a competitive positioning consultant.
Totally.
So where did this start?
So this started by me really wanting to be like a fashion designer. Yeah, like I would sit down, spend hours just like drawing clothes. I would try to sew outfits for my Barbies. Unsuccessful. I can't sew. But I tried. Just kind of loved, I don't know. I think I was really drawn to like the self-expression and the creativity. And kind of, and like that vision, I think, changed with the years, right? Like I remember like when I was in middle school, all of a sudden I thought about like, well, like maybe I should be a therapist because people come to me with their problems all the time. And I don't know, but maybe that's something like it's nice. I kind of like being the person that people come to and trust and, kind of share what they're going through and kind of like just trying to give my POV. And then when I was older, like in high school, then I went through a phase of I wanted to be an architect, because by then I realized, I'm very much, I'm an engineer, but even before I became one, like I'm kind of analytical, mathematical, I guess, not scared of spreadsheets. I love a pivot table, absolutely, till this day. And again, also still wanting to be a little creative in what I do. That's something super important to me. But then, I remember my mom just told me that architects don't make a lot of money. So I was like, okay, back to the drawing board. So yeah, that was kind of the evolution. And then I don't know how, yeah, became like an industrial engineer. And
So
then, yeah.
did you go to school? Like, okay, so like, help me understand the education path now, because I think when you get to a certain point along that journey, you're like, okay, no, this is really what I want to do. And then you go to school for it. And I've seen a lot of people that go to school for something and then completely flip it after that. So did you have an educational path that kind of took you through with like, I'm going to be an architect and I'm going to go to school for this and I'm going to do that? Or did you like pivot before that?
Oh, I pivoted before that. So yeah, that architecture dream was like in high school. And then I understood like that's not going to happen. So again, still analytical. So I was like, well, I'm going to be an engineer, but I chose industrial engineering because it just seemed like the most cool and social type of engineer that you can be. I didn't see my dad is an electrical engineer. Like I had, like my brother did some computer science, but I didn't see myself as the type of person who sits in a lab and do things all day and test them and like just work with myself. So like working with other people, getting, like being a little bit more social, kind of involving communication, pieces into those things, seemed like these are the things that would actually make me happy at work. So industrial engineering kind of seemed like I wouldn't say necessarily like a natural, but maybe like the most likely to not be terrible decision. Um, and also like kind of open ended a little bit. Like you can take that degree to like many different areas. Some people take it to like process improvement. Some people take it to like MIS, like management information systems and things like that. I took it to program management. But there's, like you can do a lot of things with that degree. So, and actually I think, it's not like I'm solving, like the traveling agent problem on a daily basis, but I do think that that I'm still using some of the things that I picked up there.
I love that. But I think what's interesting here is because I always ask folks, like, especially when people come out with something like very different from what they do today, and they tell me what their parents did, right? And so there's always like this, like, obvious, like, oh, okay, like your mom was a teacher, your mom was a nurse, your mom, like, so, or like somebody in your family, or your favorite TV show. I've had a lot of people do that. Like the shows they watched or movies that they saw definitely heavily influenced their career journey. But you just mentioned like your father and your brother both had similar-ish jobs. And so was it a little bit of like, I can be what I can see? Like, do you feel like that influenced you one way because it seemed like something you could do because you saw it being done versus something that you've never seen and kind of stepping outside of that?
Oh, that's such a great question. I mean, I think there's for sure an element of you see that around you, so it's possible, right? Like that's why we always say representation matters.
Yep.
So yeah, if that's a good question. Like if they were not in those fields, like would I have been still going to that? I don't know. I actually never thought about that. That's super deep. But I'm sure it still shaped kind of, like I never doubted my ability to get into engineering school, for example. So I think it did make it just like mentally like easier, to kind of pick that path and go there. But it's funny that you mentioned like kind of like what like what you thought you would be as a kid versus what you do now, because I actually see like a ton of connection with what I do now, with all of the things that I wanted to be as a kid. Like I see a lot of connection. I'm like, yep, it's a mix of being analytical, but also creative and being a storyteller. And like the therapist, well, like I'm obviously not a therapist, but kind of like being the consultant and being the person that people go to and say, hey, we have a problem and how can we fix that? And kind of coming to every situation like very judgment free. And I think these are qualities that, yeah, I guess like even as a teenager or like a preteen, were things that kind of came more naturally to me. And, you heard my background, like product marketing is like my third career. I didn't start there. And I think like all these different paths kind of led me to that because of all these things that, and if you ask me, like, are you happy? Like, do you love what you do? I'm like, oh yeah. Like, that's why when I decided to start a business, that's why this is the business that I picked, right? Like, I could have opened an Etsy store and do something completely different. Or I don't know, like I live in Austin, like open a food truck, but I picked that because I really like that.
Well, listen, let's not rule out the fact that there might still be an opportunity for you to design clothes for Barbies and sell them on Etsy. So like, I just don't want you to like give up entirely on that dream, because I feel like it's still very much a possibility.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So let's shift a little bit. So I want to talk about like the moments that contributed to getting where you are today, because obviously you walked us through your kind of story arc and where you started your career. Obviously is a very different place than where you are today. So when you reflect back, what are some of those big pivotal moments that you feel really contributed to your ascent to the role that you're in now?
So it's funny, but I think in a really weird way, some of the biggest like shifts in my life, and it was kind of like life and career changes, were not things that were on my 5-year plan. Not that I had one ever, but like they weren't even things that I kind of sort of even inspired to do. Like for example, I'll give you a couple, right? Like my transition from program management to product was not, like straightforward or like intuitive one at the time at HB. Like at the time, like that was still is like a very technical, very R&D focused company. Like the division specifically that I was a part of, people who did product were very technical people. I'm an engineer, but I'm kind of like a fake engineer. So, like I took like one coding class in undergrad. Like I can't actually code anything. Well, maybe now I can with AI.
But, I was just going to say, I'm like, ChatGPT can code anything.
Oh, like so, everyone can do that now, which is so beautiful.
All coders.
Exactly, which I kind of love. But like it wasn't straightforward. And that was something that I didn't even know at the time that was possible. So when I was a PMO, I didn't know that I could do that. Like it wasn't a career trajectory that was kind of common at the time there. So like this is a great example for like one of these things, or even the way I transitioned to product marketing a few years later, and what happened before that we moved. I grew up in Israel, and like I lived there for most of my adult life until about 8.5 years ago when we moved here. And we did that when I went to UT and I got my MBA there. And then we just kind of stayed in Austin since. But even then, that wasn't like getting an MBA in the US wasn't part of my plan. It just kind of like shaped up to be, like a mentor kind of threw that one time as an idea. And like they said, oh, you would love that. And I was like, what, Benji? No, like you're out of your mind. And it didn't happen immediately, but 3 years later, it became a reality. And even when I got here, I can tell you, first of all, I did not know what I was getting myself into. And maybe that was a good thing. But yeah, like I was very different than the classical MBA student, right? Like I got here, I was kind of older than most people. I had like, my daughter was like almost 2 at the time. Like it wasn't that, and I didn't go to business school, like knowing exactly how, like, I want to be here because I want to pivot into that industry or into that role. And this is what I'm going to do to get me there. And that's the summer internship that I want. And, like it wasn't like that at all for me. And then even the transition from working, like full-time as like a full-time employee and then starting my own business also wasn't something that I planned necessarily. Just kind of at the time, just kind of felt like a good, like maybe it's time to at least try that. So I think a lot of, like in all these things, like the common thread is like, opportunities or ideas that kind of came along the way, that I just didn't immediately say no to. So again, like maybe it didn't happen in a day, right? Like it's not like, oh, I had the idea and then like the week after I quit my job and I did the thing. Like, no, it took some time. But again, like these were not things that I was like, that were like on my roadmap as a person.
So how would you say you created a life for yourself, or a mindset rather, that enabled you to embrace these types of things? Because I have to tell you, like I am pretty risk adverse. I don't know that if somebody said, Kristi, you should go to Tel Aviv and go get your master's at a university there, that I'd be picking up my family and saying, yep, cool, that sounds like a great idea, let me go. Like I'm Chicken Little. Like I don't embrace those opportunities as much as I probably should. And I probably have come a lot further now in my career and in my life than I probably was when I was younger. But how? Like, what is it about your mindset that just says, like, I can do these? Like, how are you structuring yourself such that you can do this and embrace these things? I'm kind of in awe of you.
So again, like none of these things happen like immediately.
Right.
Like it took me a while to get warmed up to these ideas and to get used to it. And I think in all of these situations, there was a hint of complete unawareness and maybe overconfidence. Like I'll give you an example that I just remember. It was right before we moved here, and I was kind of like wrapping up my role at HP at the time. And like everyone knew from like months before that, like this is going to happen, right? Like it wasn't like I'm quitting and I'm going to move to the US in 2 weeks, right? Like it was something that we kind of planned for months, like the offboarding and all of that. And then someone that I worked with told me, you know, you have so much courage to move and to like learn, to like go get a degree in a different language. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's English. Like we use English all the time. And they're like, no, but like, it's not the same. And then I kind of paused and I was like, oh, wait, is it not the same? Like, is the language going to be like is that going to be a problem? Uh-huh. Like it didn't even occur to me that it's, you know, because we write emails and do pitch, like, you know, like do like all of our decks. When you work in tech in Israel, like everything is in English. And if there's someone on the line on a management meeting, and they're from, you know, North America, then you kind of switch to English. So it didn't even occur to me that this would be like completely different. And yeah, like it was a struggle. Like I had like a dictionary app on my phone for the first 2 years. And I would look up words all the time. And yeah, like class participation was not something that I was, you know, excelling at in grad school at all. And I think that like that little hint of, kind of like not fully, maybe it's more just kind of like embracing the challenge as it happens. And I'm going to figure it out. It's going to be fine. People have done this before me. I'm not the first person who is going through that. It's going to be okay. And honestly, even saying like, I'm pretty sure that like less smart and less talented people than me did that and are doing really well. And it's okay. So like, you know, kind of like embracing some of that confidence that if someone else can do it, why can't I? And sometimes it takes a little time, right? Like the move from PMO to product at HP was really challenging because again, I didn't have that background and I worked really closely with developers like overnight almost. And it took me a while to gain their trust. But I did that eventually. So I think in terms of like the mindset, because I was kind of lucky to be in a situation where I did things that were difficult, and honestly was given opportunities that I just felt like I couldn't like say no to, like I couldn't turn this down. Like this is such a great opportunity. If someone believes that like the PMO without any background can go and do this awesome job, then the least I can do is give it a try. Like maybe they're wrong, but maybe they're right, you know?
Yeah. I mean, listen, you're capitalizing on somebody else's belief in you. And so why not? I love that. The She's So Sweet podcast is brought to you by ClientSuccess. ClientSuccess is an all-in-one customer success platform to help post-sale implementation and success teams manage customers from new to renew. Through an industry-leading platform approach, ClientSuccess gives businesses an in-depth view into customer health, product usage trends, along with churn and risk data so that your team can not only retain customers, but help them grow as well. Whether it's managing customer onboarding workflows in shared portals, building custom health scores, tracking sentiment with NPS surveys, or doing more with less through AI and automations, ClientSuccess gives customer success professionals a true one-stop platform to manage all aspects of the customer journey. To learn more about the industry's fastest to implement customer success platform, visit www.clientsuccess.com. That's ClientSuccess. Simple, powerful customer success. Okay, we're gonna shift here because the way we're making it sound is that it was all sunshine and rainbows, and I just have to believe that that is not the case. Having lived a far less interesting career journey, and knowing that I've had my own obstacles, when you think back, I mean, there's obviously things that you had to overcome and challenges. And listen, you kind of highlighted a couple of those, but when you really stop and think, what were some of those significant challenges, right? Those big milestones that you had to overcome, and how did you do it?
Yeah. I mean, when you were saying, like, when you phrased that question, I was like, what sunshines and rainbows? Like, none of it was sunshine and rainbows.
Nothing.
None of it. Nothing ever came easy. Nothing ever came easy. I'm so glad it doesn't come through when I tell the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I started again, like I worked in a very, techy, male heavy environment since I was like pretty young. So yeah, when I was in, the youngest and by far the youngest and the only woman in most rooms, for the first few years in my career, even as a program manager. And it's not like it wasn't easy and it kind of sucked. And, when you're younger and you're trying to like build your confidence at work, like it's harder to like speak up. I was like super shy as a teenager. Like these things did not come easy to me. But again, you said something before and about kind of like capitalizing on someone else's confidence in me. And I think I was lucky to always have even a couple of people around me that really believed in me. So that was the lucky part. But I think I was also smart to listen to them and to kind of latch onto that. And yeah, when someone told me, yeah, like even someone at your job, like, like you can own the room, like it's not unheard of that someone with your title, even though everyone here is older and more senior than you can still like control the room and manage the meeting. And then kind of trying these things out and like see like, oh yeah, I can do that. Like, it's not easy. It's, like I fell flat on my face so many times, but, you're just doing it and you're kind of improving along the way. And again, like that, and that was in any job almost. And then even later in my career, even though, again, I think I was really lucky to, even though I didn't have a ton of women executives that were working really closely with me, I still saw them exist. And, I thought when I transitioned from program to product that I had to maybe, and again, like we talked about me wanting to be a fashion designer. So like, I like to like dressing up to work and kind of like express myself. And then I thought, well, like maybe that's like a serious role. So maybe I should tone it down a little bit and maybe I should not do that. And like, if I thought that until now I was in a really kind of like not hostile environment, but like not a super easy one, like maybe like it's going to really turn up right now. So maybe I should kind of, try to like fit in more. But then I saw these other women and they were not doing that. And they were kind of unapologetic about who they were. And they were like really badass women, managed like hundreds of people. And they were talking about shopping and, baking, like between meetings. And I was like, oh, so like, if they're like, if they can do that and it's fun, like everyone respects them. So like, it's okay. I don't have to change or tone it down. And I can kind of try to see if I can continue to be myself. And some people are going to like it. Some people are not. And that is okay. I think that's also like an important thing, like not, like not having, other people liking me as a goal, like ever. Like I live my life for me, not to please a random person that I have to work with or meet like 3 times a week. So it's fine.
You know what's interesting about what you said is that, and I've heard this in another recorded episode that we did, is that you were given permission. So when you saw these other women being authentically themselves and showing up as entirely who they are, right? Like, I'm a mom, I'm a this, I mean, I have all these hobbies, and I exist, and I also have this job. In that moment, you were kind of given permission, to say like, yes, you too can just show up authentically yourself and still command the room and still run the team and still be who you have to be professionally.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, you know what? It's funny. I think it never stops. So like even women CEOs who run companies and, I think they also face that criticism that probably men in their positions don't. And I think there's a moment, like a scene in the Barbie movie that America Ferrera gives that monologue about how like we can never do right. Like you're either too skinny or like not healthy or like, like you can't please, like no matter what we do, we can't please anyone. I think that's so accurate. And there was something, and I think like really trying to like embrace that and like not trying to please other people. And just kind of trying to find what makes you happy and what's important for you and your family and how can you show up for people that you care about in the best way possible. And like seeing these other women doing that again, like even if they weren't like my mentors, it was enough for me to just be kind of like, well, I guess it's fine then.
It's so interesting. Well, first of all, that speech in Barbie, if anyone hasn't seen or you don't have to go watch the whole Barbie movie, go watch the YouTube clip. It is such a profound speech that you don't know will have the impact on you that it actually does. So like, go take the 3 minutes to go listen to it. It's so good. Okay. So here's something else. I maybe you're going to agree, maybe you're going to disagree, and it's okay. I don't celebrate my successes enough. It's not something that I ever felt I did well, and I never did often enough, because the minute I accomplish something, I was on to the next thing, right? I already have like 5 other goals ahead of me. So I can't even care that I checked something off my list because I've got a whole laundry list of things that I'm planning to conquer. And so I feel like as women, we tend to do that, and which means we're not spending enough time to reflect on the impact that we've had and the successes that we've made for ourselves. So this is a moment where I'm going to force you to do what I don't do. And it's celebrate our successes. So when you think back on your career, like what are some of your proudest moments?
Oh yeah. And by the way, I absolutely agree. This is why I practice mindfulness. And this is why I just recommend people to do that, like just for that reason, because it forces you to stop. There's for sure things like even like the last year alone, I feel like when I started my business, I didn't do it after I kind of already started to build my brand on LinkedIn and do all these things. Of course I wish I did. But I started to do that after. And I think kind of against all odds, because again, like I don't have a giant network here. I wasn't doing that work like 2 years ago. I kind of started late. And like I'm I'm an immigrant. Like, I'm not, like, I'm not the classic textbook example of someone who starts posting on LinkedIn once a week and, they have 100,000 followers a year after. But I think even with that journey, I managed to find clients that, allowed me to, make a good living. Even though I kind of took the leap without any of that, like without any, like safety nets, or without already kind of having a couple of clients that I was like side hustling from the side or anything like that. I managed to get into a ton of podcasts and actually get some like mind share last year. I managed to get into like a couple of very cool end of year lists, like along people that I like admire. Which is so awesome because I'm like really like me that, like I like, if you ask me how I did that, I would not know how to tell you, how that happened. But I think these are really cool things that I hope my daughter thinks I'm famous now, which is adorable. Because like
she famous. You're famous to her, regardless.
Well, she Googled me and then she saw like so many hits and she's like, oh my God, like you're, yes. So I'm like, this is to me, honestly, like, this is cooler to me than all those lists and like all these other things. Just like knowing that she kind of looks up to me as someone who's like, oh yeah, my mom has like, she's telling all of her friends, my mom has her own business and all of that. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like, this is kind of,
I love that. That's the bragging rights. Think about it. 20 years ago, like a little girl might not have that story to tell her friends, or it might not even be that that's something you would celebrate, right? Even like that, maybe it's like, oh yeah, my mom who works all day and, doesn't cook, doesn't clean, whatever. I love that you have become her hero and that she's putting you on this pedestal. And not only that, she is celebrating your accomplishments with our future leaders. Think about it. Like, that's what they're going to be. These 10-year-olds today will be 20 before we know it and 30 before we know then. And they're going to be the ones. I know, stop. My kid's going to college. I'm already having heart palpitations. But like that, this is the future. And this is why these types of conversations and the work that we do is so important, not because of the impact that we have, but because of all the things that we don't see and we don't feel today, we're inspiring the future.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And I'm like, and this is truly the coolest thing that I could have hoped for. Being deemed as sort of cool by a 10-year-old, I'm like, yes, that's
I always say it all the time. If my daughter's friends think I'm cool, like, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I've literally made it. That's all that matters.
That's success.
All right. Well, listen, I know that we could probably spend another hour, 2 hours, 3 hours unpacking everything here. And I always hate when these conversations come to a close, but I want to make sure that we're leaving our listeners with some advice from you. You've accomplished so much. You've done so many cool things in your time. If you're thinking, I'm leaving everybody with one piece of advice before we wrap up today, what's the one thing you want my listeners to take away with them?
I think, I don't think there's any textbook example for success or for what's a good mom or a good like womanhood, motherhood, like good at work, good at business. I really don't think that there's anything like that. And, we get to kind of define our path and define our definition, and decide what being a woman means to us, or decide what being a mom means to us, and all of these things. And I think there's so much like these days, like there's so much, it's almost like the conflict and like, it's all black and white everywhere. And I'm like, step back, look at things, like have some grace, look at yourself with some, like have gratitude, and kind of like come judgment free for people that you meet, but also for yourself. And like really kind of slow down, like have that practice of doing things intentionally and mindfully, and not just kind of like because you think you need to, because you think that's the definition of the thing that you're doing, kind of like pause and think about what actually serves you and what makes you happier, and what makes you feel better, that you can, be good to your environment, right? Like how, like if I'm happy, I'm going to be a better mom. I'm pretty sure. It's not about how many, like how much laundry I do, or how many meals I cook. It's not about that. It's not even about like how many PTA meetings I attend. Like, it's not about that. It's about like how you show up to people that are important for you. So yeah, like I think we really need to find a way to kind of take the pressure off of ourselves, and again, like, and from other people too, and kind of have more compassion.
I love that. And I can't think of a better way to wrap up this conversation today, Talya. And thank you so much. Your story is so inspiring. I really wish we could have had like 3 hours to record today. I always feel like 60 minutes to set aside for these things is never quite enough. But I just want to congratulate you on all your success. I want to continue to watch your journey and celebrate you along the way. And so just want to thank you for taking the time to share a bit of your story and your experiences with our audience today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I had a blast, and
Oh, good. That's always actually my primary goal, is that my guests, that they enjoy telling their story. So I'm glad that you did. And for those of you listening, I hope if you enjoyed this story, please rate, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, subscribe on YouTube, connect with us on LinkedIn. I will drop links to Talya's LinkedIn and all of her assets and resources on our website when we get this live and posted. So please connect with her as well. Follow along on her story and follow her journey. But thank you all so much. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Hi, guys. I want to share a bit about an organization that I support called Wednesday Women. They're on a mission to increase the visibility of executive women leaders that you should know, learn from, and be inspired by. On LinkedIn, they share the profile of 2 amazing women each week, on Wednesdays, of course. And now just imagine if we all followed, amplified, and nominated the women that we want to see more of. Their initiative provides examples of women CEOs, founders, sales executives, technical leaders, and so many more. By supporting Wednesday Women, you'll see more of these professionals in your social feeds, of course, but also on stages, podcasts, and panels. If you're interested in learning more and supporting their initiative, head over to www.wednesdaywomen.org or follow them on LinkedIn.